I think I'll be fairly brief on this one because we've actually touched, several of us, on this already. So I think my answer would be that where we have legislation creating bodies like this, we need to make sure that when, as has happened in this case, the commissioner responsible produces a report which goes to the Welsh Government, that they actually take some notice of it, and there has to be some accountability for what stance the government takes on these kind of issues, and there has to be some kind of ability within the Welsh Assembly for the Assembly members to be able to scrutinise what is going on with bodies and with positions that are set up by the Welsh Government, because otherwise, what is the point of having it, basically? So my take on this would be it's something which is incredibly important and could be incredibly important in terms of the things that we want and the policies that we're arguing for. But if the practical impact is that simply when it makes a recommendation that they don't like, that the government simply ignores it, well then that's no good, and we need to have measures to ensure that that doesn't happen.
Yeah, I think the Wellbeing of Future Generations Act is an absolutely fantastic piece of legislation. It really pushes this in the right direction of what we should be doing, where we should be aiming for. But it doesn't have the teeth. The Welsh Government aren't being made to do what it says on the tin. But there's also the issue with local councils. They're facing huge cuts and austerity, and at the moment, for them, I'm sure they would absolutely love to follow some of the advice and guidelines and directives that sit within the Act. But at the moment, all they can do for a lot of it is tick the boxes and say, yes, we've thought about this, but we can't take any action on it because we haven't got any funds to do anything with it. From what I can see at the moment, one of the few elements that they are actually able to implement is to work with their local communities to increase the resilience of the local communities, and to help themselves, because that is something that can help the councils reduce their costs. That is the only thing that actually is being properly implemented within the Act that I can see at the moment, and we need to do better, and we need to stop austerity in order to allow the councils to do the job that they're being asked to do. Thank you.
Well, despite my slightly negative comments earlier, wording in the question, how would you improve the Future Generations Act? I don't think the Act itself can be improved. The Act is a brilliant piece of legislation. As I said earlier, the United Nations recognising it as something special and unique. It is down to the implementation and the scrutiny. And I think we're starting to see a shift, because it has only been 3 years, and we're starting to realise, and we as Green Party, I'm coming across this in non-party campaigns more and more, and we as Wales Green Party need to be doing this. It is a tool that we can use. We can challenge Welsh Government, we can challenge our councils. Local councils, local authorities have an obligation, bodies across Wales have an obligation to publish an annual report on how they are meeting, or trying to meet, the 7 objectives of the Wellbeing of Future Generations Act. We put a future freedom of information request into Vale Council earlier this year, Cardiff Green Party, to get their report. It was nonsensical, it was almost illiterate. And we are going to use that moving forward, because we had in Cardiff very recently, we had the very disappointing decision by Cardiff Council. Sorry, I'll give you some background. You've got Cardiff Community Energy in Cardiff, chaired by one of our Cardiff Green members. They've been working for years to try and get community solar power across Cardiff, and they recently got close to achieving. They had a contract, a plan with the people who run all the Cardiff leisure centres to install solar panels and solar water heating on all of Cardiff's leisure centres. It was so close, it was almost there. A Labour councillor pulled the plug at the very end. It's just not good enough, and people are looking at how we can use the Wellbeing of Future Generations Act legally to make them revisit that decision. And I think also the Future Generation Commissioner is growing into the job. I mean, the quote on the M4 was so welcome to finally be standing up. And it also highlights the absolute necessity of a Green voice in the Assembly. Because if we've got a couple of Green Assembly members scrutinising their legislation and using their own legislation to challenge them, you will start to see some of the other party members coming on board. It is a wonderful tool, it just needs to be used properly, and we need to do everything in our power to make sure it is.
Yeah, I absolutely love this act. I think it's just very it's something that makes you very proud to live in Wales. I can't say that to be Welsh because I don't have the passport, but it makes you so proud to live in Wales. And I know that they've been working really hard also to sort of create more awareness of this act abroad. I think we also absolutely there are two things. So I would say that, as other people have already kind of said, that we really need to make sure that the act is implemented properly. As Greens in the Assembly, we would be able to scrutinise whether this happens or not, but also on local level we'd be able to utilise the resources and the framework that it provides. So a Green in every council is absolutely needed for this to be properly implemented. The other thing I would actually say is that I do think that they've done a lot of international work, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I haven't seen much happening in terms of raising awareness of the Act in England. And considering that we've got a UK government that is in charge of some of the things that are to do with the environment and all of these things, I think that there is more work to be done on that front. I went to talk by the Secretary of State for Wales last week, and the economy, I think that we've got so much work to do there. If he's in a position where he says that the economy goes over everything, then we really can't, we've got limitations here, so I think that needs to change.